Good morning. It is 8:04 a.m. on Friday, September 4th, 2020. I'm Christiana Ellis, and I just got up. This is 5 more minutes. So, uh, off work today and Monday, 4-day weekend. It's nice. Um, I think I talked already earlier this week about how the last time I took time off, I sort of decided, well, should do something special next time I take time off. And then, but, what are you going to do? Um, Sorry, Rocket just lay down next to me and made kind of a funny yawn sound. I probably didn't come up on the microphone. So last night we tried again with uh, letting Rocket sleep up on my bed with me instead of in his crate, and it went fine. It went great. He did so. Like I've said, like other than the incidents where I woke up to find that he had peed on the bed, which I don't know. I still don't quite understand what's going on there, but I think, like I said, I think the first instance was actually due to him being scared of the vacuum cleaner, and the second one was the only one that happened overnight, which may have been that I just didn't fully get rid of the smell from the first time. I don't know, but in any event, the he's certainly capable of going all night without having to go outside, so I wasn't sure. But so I decided to go ahead and give it another try, and it went just fine. The other issue, though, that we've sometimes had when he slept on the bed is just that he moves around so much that he keeps waking me up. But that didn't happen this time either, and so we both kind of woke up at 6 a.m. because I had forgotten to turn my alarm off and went outside, but then I decided to go back to bed and he came back up on the bed with me again, but was very cuddly. He's a very cuddly boy, and so we got some good sleep, but also some just good cuddles where he's just like a sleeping position that he enjoyed was when I'm on my side facing one side of the bed, he's sort of on his side facing the other side of the bed, but with his butt pressed up against my butt. um, and so that was fun. But then, of course, this morning, once it was less about actual sleep and more about for him just being close. He went and got his rawhide thing, and then he kind of managed to worm his way around until he was on his back, which is like he likes to sleep on his back quite a bit, but he had sort of wedged himself between a pillow to where when he laid his head back, he was just laying it on my neck. So, which didn't really allow me to get a lot more sleep, but was adorable nonetheless. So, he's a very sweet little cuddle boy. Just thought you all should know. Um, I watched a couple of old black and white movies yesterday. Like not just black and white, but foreign language films, classic foreign language films, for a couple of reasons. One, I watched the 400 Blows because it's actually, is it? I think it might be. I can't remember now if it's 400 Blows or the 400 Blows. I think the former, because my understanding is that in French, it's a translation of the French title that is really kind of an idiom about like raising hell, bringing chaos. Um, I only know that from someone else saying it, though I haven't verified that myself. But the point just being that I don't know, since it's an idiom, I suppose it could include the. But in any event, I watched that because I'm continuing to follow along with what the Unspooled podcast is watching. They're following a lot of like school age and coming of age movies. And it was pretty good. It's a French film by Truffaut from 1959, in black and white, although certainly in 1959 it could easily have been in color. But it follows a 12-year-old boy named Antoine who, due to kind of self-absorbed, neglectful parents and a neglectful parents, I can pronounce words, and a school system that is really just all about like conformity and following the rules. He finds his life just kind of sort of spiraling out of control. You know, one little offense that's not even his fault, he gets blamed for, and like so. I mean, he, you know, a racy calendar is being passed around the classroom, but he's the one that's holding it when the teacher turns around. So he gets in trouble, has to write an essay for school, for homework, but he can't do the homework even though he tries because his home life is kind of chaotic, and so he doesn't get it done. And because he hasn't done it, he decides to skip school the next day, and so on and so on and so on. And it just keeps getting out of control, but it just observes this kid with such compassion that, like, for sure he's doing things that are breaking the rules and are probably not good decisions. But we totally follow him along, and we can kind of understand, like, from his perspective, it really feels all sort of profoundly unfair, and like, what was he supposed to do? Um, Yeah, and so it was really kind of yeah, it's very good. It's moving. The other movie I watched was M, which is a German film from 1931, in also in black and white. And the reason that I decided to check that out is because it stars Peter Lorre, who was, you know, he's a famous character actor. Has been lots of things, but I was thinking of him recently due to his role in Casablanca. And it's kind of interesting. I had heard of the movie, but I didn't even really know what it was about. And it's apparently a fair, like, considering how the genre has evolved, it's a fairly standard archetypal sort of serial killer movie. Like, there's a killer out there, people are trying to catch him. The sort of the procedural of trying to catch him and bring him down. Um, but it's also really good. Like, the pacing is certainly slower than, you know, modern standard, but that's kind of typical of the time period. But the basic idea, the conceit in this one that I think is actually pretty cool, is that there is someone out there who is murdering children, and obviously awful. And people are terrified, and they're scared, and so the police are doing everything they can to try to catch him, but they're not having a lot of luck, and they're having to go with more and more extreme measures trying to find him because people are terrified and are demanding it. Um, but what that means is that there's all of these various organized crime sort of networks, and they actually are getting fed up because they keep getting brought in all of these sweeps from the police trying to find the this child murderer. And so they keep getting caught because police are actually looking for something else. But then when they say, "Oh, hey, but you have all this stolen property, so you get to be arrested too," so they decide for themselves, because this is bad for business. They are going to also try to find this child murderer, and so that's kind of an interesting thing. And then also, I think interesting is Peter Lorre plays the child murderer, and although it does not at any point excuse that it's somehow okay for him to do what he does, I think it's a depiction we don't see very often, which is to say that he is someone with compulsions that he himself is somewhat distressed by. And again, it's like, you know, I think we can certainly say it is not safe to allow this person to continue to do what they're doing. people are dying as a result, children, and so that's awful. He has to be stopped. But the movie and Peter Lorre's performance give us a certain level of compassion for someone who, for whatever reason, whether it's brain chemistry or something else, has these compulsions that he doesn't feel are fully under his control. And so it's interesting that while it's universally agreed that he must be stopped, is this a question of we have to get revenge? Is it a question of we have to morally stand up against evil? Or is it simply this poor man can't help himself, and it's dangerous as a result, and so for the good of society we have to stop him, but it's not about like punishing evil, which is interesting. I mean, again, it's like, so the big moral dilemma by the end, as the criminals have caught him and put him on their own sort of trial, the big debate amongst most of the criminals is that we're just going to kill him. But some of, they give him a defense counsel who's basically arguing instead that's like, no one is saying that he should be let go, but he's sick. It's not his fault. He should be in a mental hospital. That's what should happen to him. Not he doesn't deserve to be murdered because he can't help himself. Which I thought was just an interesting, that's certainly not a take that we see very often these days. I think there's a question, it is sort of awful. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, it's a complicated issue, but I thought that was kind of a surprising take. But of course, the real reason to watch the movie it's directed by Fritz Lang, who does a lot of great stuff with light and shadow and everything. And then Peter Lorre is just really good in it as this guy who finds himself compelled to do these horrible things that he is simultaneously horrified and fascinated by. So it's good. It's worth watching. Anyway, I'll leave it there because I've already gone, wow, 12 and a half minutes. And I'll talk to you all tomorrow for 5 more minutes.